much you wish that you could have thought about the beginning of the internet differently if you'd been around at that time and in a place to do so? Wouldn't you have wanted to move faster on what was there?
Welcome back, or maybe welcome for the first time ever, to the AI Wave podcast. I'm your host, Chris Parisi, and the AI Wave podcast is the only one dedicated to equipping Rhode Islanders from diverse backgrounds with the knowledge and resources necessary to leverage the power of AI. Our focus is on exploring this transformative potential of AI in key industries that are lifeblood of the ocean state. We aim to address areas where we face challenges and bring in specialists to provide deep insights in how this ever-evolving technology can benefit our ocean state. And today we welcome Sam Azar, someone fairly new to Rhode Island, but a veteran to helping people in our planet. Over the past year, Sam has used his background in nonprofits and public sector to found Ascend Impact Advisors. And now he's partnered with social enterprise Greenhouse to grow Rhode Island into an AI-friendly community. Now, I won't spoil too much, so stay with us, listen to Sam as we ride the AI wave. And welcome back to the AI Wave podcast. We took a winter break, but we are back, and we are back with Sam Azar, the founder and CEO of Ascend Impact Advisors. Sam, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
So, Sam, we found out about you through the news, right? When PBN, shout out Providence Business News, came out with an article about what work you're doing with social enterprise Greenhouse. Mm-hmm. We're going to tease that. You're going to tell us more about that. But first, for our audience that doesn't know about you, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got to that journey of where you are today.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you again for having me on the podcast. Really excited to be here. I've been working on social sector issues essentially my whole career and really can't imagine myself working on anything else. If you look over my career so far, I've basically worked my way across the housing continuum, starting in homelessness work and support services and homelessness prevention. Back when I started in Boston, working at a housing authority there. Took a brief foray into consulting and the strategy and operations practice with Deloitte, working with public sector clients and actually predominantly the Department of Housing and Urban Development and their Office of Public and Indian Housing. And then after several years at Deloitte, realized I wanted to get back to the public sector and really get back to the nonprofit sector in particular. So took roles at United Way Worldwide as the first ever manager of data and strategy for the U.S., first ever director of global strategy there. And then wanted to get closer to programs and how they work with real people and communities instead of this sort of stratospheric strategy work, which is really compelling and interesting, but I just felt the calling to do something sort of nearer to the ground. And so helped Compass Working Capital, which actually has a presence in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and a number of other places now, working with those who have housing assistance and providing them with a financial coach and helping them basically take that program and scale it through training and technical assistance.
So still connected to housing.
Still connected to housing because you had to have housing assistance to be part of the Family Self-Sufficiency program, which is just a hidden gem within HUD's world. It lets you build assets in a way that's not possible in any other program. So you can see individuals, families, after 5 years in the program, graduating with $10,000 that to their name that they can use for whatever financial goals that they might have. And with Compass in particular, what was compelling to me there, very evidence-based, very focused on putting their program participants at the center and seeing incredible outcomes as a result, including seeing folks who were in public housing or had a HUD voucher, graduating from the FSS program and buying their own home. And at really extraordinary rates compared to other programs.
Oh, wow.
And then, I love Compass, the time I spent there, but found this incredible opportunity with Habitat for Humanity International. They didn't have a research and measurement function for the U.S., so they brought me on to start that.
Wow.
So I spent the last few years really looking at what does it mean to evaluate our programs and better understand our impact in the U.S. across that broad swath of many, many affiliates across the U.S. And building capacity of organizations, volunteer-run or large, well-oiled machines and really sophisticated operations and everything in between. So this is a long way of saying I've been really focused on public sector work my whole career, and I think in that time, in maybe the late winter, spring last year, as the world was just discovering ChatGPT and what it was capable of, I was one of those. And I had a moment where I realized I just couldn't work the way I'd worked before, and I didn't want my colleagues, my friends and colleagues in the nonprofit sector to ever work the way that they worked before, and found more and more, I can't just do this on the side of my desk. I have to focus on AI and what it can mean for the social sector, because if we're left to our own devices, it'd take way too long for us to really get any meaningful value out of it, and really be too late. So that's where I left Habitat for Humanity International and started my own firm.
Wow. I mean, what a story that is, because it shows how those that take advantage of these unique times, like right now, we're in the most pivotal times of our lifetimes right now. Whatever we do in our lives this year, last year, next year are going to define the decades to come. Mm-hmm. Someone like you that had pretty good jobs, right? With public sector, Habitat for Humanity, Deloitte, like really good jobs. But you saw what monumental change was coming to us, and then you took that leap to say, you know what, I'm going to go all in on this, because you can't half-ass anything in life. I'm going to go all in on this, and I'm going to do what I love, and that's impacting the nonprofits, the community that I'm working in. Is that right?
That's right.
And how did you, what was that moment that was like, you know what, I got to do this?
Right. Yeah. And I'll say, too, I love my time at Habitat for Humanity International. I really consider that group of folks, friends, family, colleagues for life. But, I think I did what any normal person would do with that kind of job, with those kind of colleagues, is I quit. Yeah. And I quit because of that moment where I was at Roger Williams Park Zoo with my girls and my wife. I have two girls, 4 and 7. And we had a little break where their mom took them off to the bathroom or something like that, or maybe to get a snack. And I was just sitting at this park bench for a minute, kind of watching our stuff. And it's like, oh, I got a couple minutes. Like, I just downloaded this ChatGPT app. I'm going to play around with this a little more. I'd already been experimenting on the side. But I sat down there and I started just seeing what I could do. So within that few minutes that they went off and then came back, I had created a pitch for a national survey. I drafted that survey. I'd revised that survey to have it be a bit more sophisticated and tailored to what I wanted. So like Likert scales and more closed-ended questions and a better flow of questions, and looked similar to what a colleague of mine at Habitat might have done, one of the sort of research and survey design folks. And then not only that, but also created a marketing plan, which probably near and dear to your heart. Yeah. My version of a marketing plan are far better than I could have done on my own, as well as draft blog posts, and then also outlined what those blog posts would be, and had ChatGPT take just data from the survey it had created for me and say how I would analyze it and incorporate it into these blog posts. It was like 5 minutes, 10 minutes max, sitting in a Roger Williams Park Zoo. I'm like, the world is different.
Wow.
Like, I can't be working the same way anymore.
It's that aha moment, right? That you just had and others have, that I love seeing, whether it's hearing the stories like you did or even seeing it firsthand. I mean, my wife, Megan, she's in the healthcare industry and clinical trials, things that are above my head. She's really smart. I'm not when it comes to that stuff. But I know AI. And I know the types of prompts to do it and what type of outputs to look for. So I was the one typing out the prompts, and I was just picking her brain. And long story short, it outputted something that would take her weeks to do. And she's like, you got to be kidding me. I said, yeah. So she actually tailored it, pitched it to her company, and she's going to be doing something related to AI, which is exciting. But it's that aha moment that once people see it and realize it, life is different from here on out.
Right.
And how are we going to move forward? And your calling seems to be, how can I utilize this for, let's say, the nonprofit sector? So I guess that's what led you to this moment.
Yeah.
And now that you're here, tell me about, in general, how do you feel AI is going to impact the nonprofit sector?
Yeah. And I think it's going to happen on a number of different levels. Actually, I think the most basic thing that I'm hoping for is not about sort of how I use it or how my firm uses it or the projects that we do, but really, how do I help more people across the nonprofit sector have that aha moment sooner? And then not only have that aha moment, but really be able to sort of jumpstart what it is that they do next and how they get real value out of it to create more social impact, whether that's, with me, someone else, or sort of on their own or with their organization. So I think there's first that moment of just personal curiosity translating to that personal aha moment and how to recreate that as quickly as possible to just push people along that innovation adoption curve as quickly as we can, but with the right guardrails in place about responsible use and using it effectively. So I'm really hoping to see nonprofits first see that personal transformation, but then begin thinking about, how is it that we might harness this to transform processes that we're running, do them more efficiently, more effectively. First maybe just using tools that are out there that have AI features sort of starting to be built in, which we'll increasingly see. But then maybe going a step further and really reworking processes to be more fully AI enabled and AI powered, and then eventually be more of an AI first organization in the way that organizations first started tinkering with mobile and then became mobile first or sort of internet first organizations. And I like to see that across a number of domains. Operations, there's some clear use cases in marketing and fundraising, like just astounding what's possible, even with where the models and tools are today, which they're as dumb as they'll ever be. And they're only getting smarter, faster, it seems, and more capable and with better user experience and more sort of unique user experiences tailored to specific use cases. I think those two are really low-hanging fruit for organizations, but I'd love to see more and more nonprofits think about, how do I use this within programs? Not only for what I'm doing, what my team's doing, but how might we reinvent service delivery and maybe reach those we weren't able to reach or do things we weren't able to do because of just being capacity constrained, whether it's people, time, or just ability to put the thoughts to paper.
Nonprofits being capacity strained, I don't believe it.
Yeah, no, never, right? Never.
I founded a nonprofit myself. I'm involved in a few of them on the board. Shout out Rhode Island Small Business Coalition. Shout out Millennial Rhode Island. And capacity is always an issue. So I love this idea that you have. Not really an idea, it's a practice. That you went all in on to focus the nonprofits because it's going to help our community. It's going to help Rhode Island. It's going to help the world, a little bit more. What I would love for all the nonprofits that are listening here and they're wondering, give me an example, Sam. They're thinking, they're saying, we talked about those multiple domains of operations, fundraising. Let's take fundraising, for example. What are some easy, quick ways that nonprofits can do today with limited skills on how to improve their fundraising?
So a number of different ways. First, I think the most obvious one is just grant writing. The number of grants, the quality of grants that you're writing often takes hiring an outside professional learning how to do it. I think both those grant writers that are sort of offering it as a consulting service, as well as those who are writing grants, maybe on the side of their desk especially, just with a few right prompts. We're not talking extensive training, just like a few basics of how to write good prompts and how to feed it the right information about your organization can produce, really great quality grant applications at a speed that is astounding. I think beyond that, you can also look at writing donor letters or any sort of follow-up with donors that you might have. If you're a smaller shop and able to move a bit more nimbly, the amount of automation that you can build in using AI with tools like Salesforce and other CRM systems integrating AI capabilities, plus what you can do with a Microsoft Copilot or even just one of the other largely available, and whether it's ChatGPT or Bard or what have you, to write your pitches to donors, do the follow-up, and just enable you to go from that blinking cursor to a first draft much, much faster.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a nonprofit, do that today, right?
Yeah.
And that's just one example of one of many examples of how you can help grow your nonprofit utilizing AI, and even just doing it within your current systems at first, and then working with someone like yourself to rebuild your systems and incorporate your processes that are AI powered. And you're very close to the nonprofit and community scene because you've been working out of SEG for
the last couple years now. Yeah.
What brought you to start working within Social Enterprise Greenhouse?
First thing is, after COVID, I just couldn't be in my home office every day anymore. I needed people around me, and my team at Habitat was, virtual nationally.
Sure.
And while we had home offices in Atlanta, I wasn't about to move out of Rhode Island. I'm here to stay.
That's great to hear.
Go Rhode Island. I just needed to have other socially minded folks around me day to day, just to feel that energy. And there are a lot of other co-working spaces that I looked at, tested out, but there's just something about sort of the people there, both the staff and those working there. It's just a great environment for those thinking about how to have a social impact.
So you could just use it as a co-working space. You just kind of rent a co-working space, like become a member. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. So I just it was a hot desk membership. And so basically I could use any of the common areas. I could book conference rooms, free coffee and water there. And then just, could bump into people and sort of build another network sort of outside of my organization of folks that are more socially minded.
That's beautiful. I mean, there's a lot of great organizations like that in Rhode Island. Whether you're like a startup for like RI Hub, but if you're that socially conscious type of organization, nonprofit, but also for-profit businesses that they have there, right? SEG is a great spot for you for you to start looking into, and because of that, Sam, it got you thinking, right? Like you're in this space, you're with these people, then you're sitting on a bench at Roger Williams Park Zoo. My wife and child probably walked by you because she likes to go there almost every week in the summer. And you're sitting there playing with ChatGPT. And then when you go back into that space, you're probably thinking, looking around all those people, they're not seeing this, what I just saw.
Yeah.
And was that the kind of genesis of creating Ascend?
Yeah, I mean, it really started with, I got my first beta testers from colleagues, including some staff members at SEG. I developed a course, basically prompt engineering, but focused on ChatGPT in particular, and beta tested it with a couple of rounds of different staff members there, and got some great feedback. I think that also got us thinking together about, okay, well, where might we go next with this? What else might we do? There's really something here, and all credit to Social Enterprise Greenhouse for really being sort of innovative and having a bias for action to really say, no, we need to make a declaration that AI matters. It's going to matter for small businesses. It's going to matter for social entrepreneurs. It's going to matter for nonprofits. And we need to think about how it is that we're going to invest and how we're going to help elevate this for the good of people and the planet. And we found ourselves sort of natural partners in that.
Wow, that's amazing. And that partnership was announced relatively recently, right? A few months ago, perhaps.
Yep.
And tell our audience a little bit about what that is and what it's called and how they can learn more about it.
Yeah, so it's a strategic partnership, and I think I'd look at it as our minimum viable product of a partnership now, where we're going to sort of look at how it should grow and evolve together. The basic sort of starting point for it is just a joint recognition of this matters, and it matters for Rhode Island. We need Rhode Island small businesses, we need Rhode Island nonprofits and startups to really sort of become fluent in AI and be thinking about how they can be proactive early adopters so they can benefit from it themselves as organizations, and also be part of the broader conversation around regulation and development and how these technologies ought to evolve. So that's that sort of basic, planting a flag, I guess I would call it.
Hell yeah.
As well as, I'm a technical assistance provider through SEG, and their main technical assistance provider in AI. So as organizations, have needs to sort of explore AI more, or look at how it is that they might put it to good use for their team, their organization, that I'll be there as a consultant, sort of helping them along.
So you're like a resource available to SEG members, essentially? Is that how it works?
We're basically trying to figure out how to make it as broadly available as possible. So not putting any guardrails on it now, but I'd say if you have a relationship with SEG or connection with SEG already, reach out to them. And you can find me or reach out to me, and I'll make the connection there back to SEG. And if you don't, it's also a great time to look at how SEG could be part of your journey as an entrepreneur or a nonprofit in Rhode Island.
So what you're doing is really important. What SEG is doing is really important because they're the ones that, small businesses are going to look up to them. They're going to listen to them, right? They may not listen to a state leader, right? But they'll listen to the people that are working with them.
Right.
So if every single BSO out there, every single business support organization that's out there has that same mentality that SEG does, that's how it's going to get done. Not necessarily by some man or woman saying like, we're going to do great. It's about the community. So I love what SEG is doing. I love what you're doing as well, planting that flag in there. But you're not just doing it with words, right? You committed it to yourself. You took that leap of faith into AI, and you're using your knowledge and your experience in this public sector to great use by helping others, which is commendable and exciting.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for what you're doing to help sort of coalesce the leaders in the state and really put it on the agenda and keep it on the agenda. It really does need to be all hands on deck, because this isn't something where you can take the ostrich approach.
No.
It's coming whether you like it or not.
Exactly.
It's actually already here.
But, we need to involve the state level, the city level, and the community level more in order to have that change that Rhode Island needs to be the leader once again, like it was in the Industrial Revolution, American Industrial Revolution. Shay, our producers, our history buff, as well as like wind energy. Like we're literally, and I was in a speech, the industry leader, right? In offshore wind. Why not be the leader in AI, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love it. I think because AI is coming and is actually already here, and it has been here for a long time. It's just more on sort of the national consciousness because of ChatGPT and just the splash that's made over the last year. I think you can be proactive about it, or you can be more passive. And I'd love to see public leaders, social sector leaders as well, being more proactive and really thinking about how to shape the direction that it goes and how to get the benefits from it while managing the risks on the front end.
Right. You can't keep your head in the sand.
Right.
It's here.
Right. And I mean, don't you wish that you could have thought about the beginning of the internet differently if you'd been around at that time and in a place to do so? Wouldn't you have wanted to move faster on what was there?
You're 100% right. When I was talking to the governor once and we were in his office with other leaders, the way that I described it to everyone, I said, San Francisco in 94 is similar to what Providence is today. 1995 was when the internet became a public consciousness and really changed the way everything was. We're at that moment. We can be a San Francisco type of that 90s and 2000s and 2010s. We have that potential. Maybe not as large of a scale, but we have that potential. Because what AI does is it levels a playing field. Whether you're a Fortune 10 company or a small business like Trailblaze, you have access to pretty similar tools and talents. Not exactly the same, but pretty similar, more than ever before. So Rhode Island's not a Fortune 5 state, right? It just got ranked as one of the lowest states in some rankings, but those rankings are kind of BS. But it got ranked one of the lower states. Well, guess what? With AI, we can level the playing field, compete with the Massachusettses and all these top states out there and become that leader once again.
Yeah, I think this, as this sort of age of AI sort of is ushered in, also going to have a great reskilling. And not reskilling in like you need to go back and get another bachelor's or a master's or a PhD. You should also do that if that's your thing and that's where you are in your career. But ways where you don't need a formal credential. You just need the practical experience and the sort of know-how, maybe with a light certification or just through your, project use of these tools.
Yeah.
And Rhode Island could be at the forefront of thinking about how to prepare its workforce proactively for it, because the disruption is going to come from AI. But those who really know how to wield AI are going to come out better than those who don't in industries that are affected.
Well, that was great, Sam. I am glad we're on the same page. Let's continue to push the agenda forward to ensure that our state, our small businesses, our community is making sure that we're taking advantage of this opportunity and mitigating the risk to become those leaders in Rhode Island. And you got to take chances too, right? You took a chance. You left those comfy and wonderful jobs that you did love, right? Like that's like you didn't even hate your job. Like you actually loved it, right? So and then you also are doing something else, right? What is it? AI for social impact?
Yes, just building and launching soon the AI for Social Impact Hub. And this is sort of placing my first bet on what I think is going to accelerate adoption for nonprofits. It's just a place to go where someone's speaking their language, thinking from their perspective and looking from their perspective at sort of the developments in AI and sort of curating the best resources that are out there, as well as I'll be developing sort of my own based on as much user feedback as I can, sort of lean into human-centered design and its mindsets and the approaches there. Really want to help organizations and leaders in nonprofit organizations explore AI in a responsible way, but also as quickly as possible. So from that first moment of discovery to thinking about how you might pilot something within your organization to how you really deploy sort of at scale or sort of across your organization, really want there to be resources that are set for different size nonprofits and to really help sort of guide them through those steps.
So stay tuned. Follow Sam Azar on LinkedIn. You also have a website, right?
Yep, ascendimpactadvisors.com. And you can also look at Ascend Impact Advisors LinkedIn page. It's a great place to follow lots of updates there, including about the AI for Social Impact Hub, but also funding opportunities for nonprofits to experiment with AI, as well as sort of latest developments and tools, tips, strategies, et cetera.
Wow, that's wonderful. Well, hats off to you, Sam.
Thank
you're
you.
doing great work, and Rhode Island is lucky to have you here. And the fact that you said you're staying here makes me very happy as well.
Well, I feel lucky to be here and looking forward to sort of deepening the involvement of my friends, family, colleagues in Rhode Island in AI. It's a really critical time to be doing so, and I'm excited to see what Rhode Island can do.
Amen. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
And that's the show, everyone. But one more thing before you go. Thank you to Sam Azar for jumping on the show with us today and leaving us with some things to think about, like how we must remember that AI continues to get smarter and smarter every day, how we need to embrace it, take that chance and leap into it so we can become the leader in the ocean state. Thank you for joining us today. And if you like the show, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, tell a comment, tell your friends, share it, especially if they're in the nonprofit or public sector. That's it for today. I'm Chris Parisi, and I'm here to encourage Rhode Island to ride that AI wave. AI Wave is a production of Trailblaze Media. Our show's producer is Shane Weintraub, with a little help from the little hamster that runs around in her head.